Hello, this is David of the Savage Experience, and I'm here to talk about Bond, James Bond, and in particular, my pick for the top 10 best songs of the James Bond franchise. Now, what I mean by James Bond franchise is specifically the ones produced by the Broccoli family. I'm not going to include the other versions of Casino Royale or Never Say Never Again. Not that I have anything against those films or any of the songs written for them, it's just I want to stick to the ones that we're familiar with, the ones that Sean Connery, beyond Never Say Never Again, George Lazenby, Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, and now Daniel Craig in the role. So, let's get to it. Beginning this list with number 10 is GoldenEye, performed by Tina Turner. Now, I just want to give a little history in regards to GoldenEye, that it was, I believe, 6 years, since I believe License to Kill was released in 1989, and this was 1995, since we've seen a James Bond film, that Timothy Dalton they were going to make one in the mid-90s, but then that fell through. And so the original choice beyond Timothy Dalton was going to be Pierce Brosnan, but he was just too busy doing Remington Steele, so here he is back in the role that he was born to play. Now, when it comes to the title theme song itself, it's very reminiscent of Shirley Bassey, that Tina Turner really sings the hell out of this song. And it does, as I mentioned, does recall Shirley Bassey in that, if anything, it was just to revitalize the series that many people thought that with the Roger Moore films in the 80s and then the really dark Timothy Dalton films, that they needed to go back to what made Bond Bond. And if anything, I think that's reflective in the film itself, that I think that it's a good representation of the best of Roger Moore, but also the best of the Timothy Dalton films. And it's there in the song itself that it is a really catchy song, and that it's like nice, good, like slow number that builds and builds and builds, and then pow. And Turner does an excellent job with the performance of the song. And speaking of Shirley Bassey, at number 9 is Diamonds Are Forever, indeed sung by Shirley Bassey. Now, when you think of the James Bond songs, when you have to think of a singer, I mean, the one that immediately comes to my mind is Shirley Bassey. I mean, she is iconic with the James Bond films. In particular, in Monty Python's Life of Brian, they have that great song, the intro that parodies the Bond films and her singing. And especially with Diamonds Are Forever, and that is, it's like a slow build-up once again, but what I love about Bassey is that when she says, diamonds are forever, like, you believe that diamonds are forever, that powerful voice of hers. Now, when it comes to the film itself, we gotta look back at the fact that Sean Connery didn't want to do any more Bond films, that You Only Live Twice. He said that was going to be the last one, but after On Her Majesty's Secret Service and George Lazenby as Bond, even though the film itself was seen as one of the better Bond films, he himself wasn't seen as a good successor to the role. So they got Connery back, and who else to bring Connery back but also the director of Goldfinger. We got Guy Hamilton, and who sung the title theme song to Goldfinger? Why, Shirley Bassey. So it's like a good call back to those films to make people remember that Bond is back. Even though my opinion of it is it's the weakest effort of the official Bond films, nothing to do with the song itself. The song is still powerful. Number 8 on my list is From Russia with Love, sung by Matt Monro. Now, what's interesting about the song itself is that it's sung at the end of the film, even though we do hear the theme of it throughout the film, and we do have that great intro involving the belly dancer over the credits. It's very well done, but I really do like how this song is, that it's a nice romantic ballad, and that Matt Monro has this voice that reminds me of a very powerful Frank Sinatra. It's a really, really good song, a nice romantic ballad, and it feels like at the end of the film, it makes sense that it plays at the end as opposed to the beginning, because after this huge adventure that Bond goes on, he's finally got the girl, and it's romantic in the boat, and they have this nice, lovely song playing. It's a nice breath of relaxing air. It's like, From Russia with Love. And it fits it perfectly. Number 7 on my list is You Only Live Twice, sung by Nancy Sinatra. Now, let's look at the 3 previous Bond films, and that you've got From Russia with Love, you have Goldfinger, and Thunderball. And the singers for those were Matt Monro, Shirley Bassey, and Tom Jones. Really powerful singers. So when you got to this, you would probably be under the assumption that, okay, it's going to be another, a belter, right? Not the case at all. Nancy Sinatra sings this, it's a very light singing, and it's also very mournful in a way, and it feels like it's kind of taken aback at first because you're expecting something, powerful, but there is power in it, and that it does have this sense of, this is it, this is the end. And at the time it was, because for Sean Connery this was going to be, he said, the last of the Bond films, which of course didn't turn out to be the case at all, and that there's up in the air, was there going to be another Bond film? What's going to happen to the series? Is this going to be it? And I think that the theme itself really plays to it, that it's a nice, lovely song, and it really does fit the feel of the film. The fact also that in the film itself, before the credits, you see James Bond dying. So that does play into You Only Live Twice, and it fits perfectly with it. So this is a nice, lovely little song sung by Nancy Sinatra. At number 6 on my list, and the most recent entry, it's You Know My Name, sung by Chris Cornell for the film Casino Royale. Now, once again, this was, if anything, the song itself and the film, it's a kick in the pants to the series, and it's one of the better entries, the film itself, and also the song as well, because before that, the last Bond film was Die Another Day, which was considered to be one of not only the worst of the Bond films, but also one of the worst, if not the worst Bond song, which I do agree that Die Another Day was the song in the film itself, huge disappointment, especially in regards to Madonna, who I thought would be appropriate, but unfortunately she was still in that, techno mood of hers that I wasn't a big fan of. So, but in regards to the song itself, that Chris Cornell reminds me of he's in the mold of Matt Monro and Tom Jones, is a really powerful belter, but adding this, hard rock edge to it that I really liked for it. It also reminiscent of Paul McCartney, Wings for Live and Let Die, that it's like a nice, boost of energy to it that I really do like. It's one of those where it's kind of, it just shows you that this is going to be a new Bond, a different Bond from Pierce Brosnan. So here it is, Daniel Craig in the role of James Bond, and I think that Chris Cornell does a great job setting that up with that powerful voice of his. And since I've already mentioned him plenty of times, at number 5, Tom Jones singing Thunderball. Now, Tom Jones just sings the heck out of this song, and it's the closest, to me, the closest male equivalent of Shirley Bassey. That is, I wish that Tom Jones could have sung a couple more songs for the series, because I felt that he was just perfect for it. That, once again, if there was a second choice for a perfect Bond singer, it's Tom Jones. That he fits the series perfectly. But Thunderball itself, though, it's once again continuing that feel of Goldfinger, this, powerful, song, like really in your face with it. Not so much in the mold of From Russia with Love, lovely, romantic, but a belter, or You Only Live Twice. So, of them, I wish he could have done more, because Thunderball shown how great Tom Jones really was with the series. At number 4 on my list is Nobody Does It Better, sung by Carly Simon for the film The Spy Who Loved Me. Now, let's get this out of the way. When you think of somebody to sing for a Bond film, you have to admit that Carly Simon isn't high on the list that you'd expect. I mean, this same woman, You're So Vain, or Let the River Run, all great songs, and Carly Simon is a great songwriter in her own right, but really, for a James Bond film? But she pulls it off admirably. The song works for the film, and that is, it's not like this high, energetic song like the other previous Roger Moore films, like for Live and Let Die or The Man with the Golden Gun, that it does take its time, but it's like a nice and lovely little song that it could have been saccharine and sappy like All Time High from Octopussy, but no, that Carly Simon adds this sweetness to it that I really do like. It's, while ranking the list, initially had this lower, but just listening it again and watching the film itself, that it does suit the film perfectly. And that, if anything, there is this, at the end in the credits, there's a different take on it. If you listen to it like just a track, that it goes into beautiful strings, but in the film itself, it just ends in this kind of this sad piano to it that calls to mind that Barbara Bach's husband in the film is killed by James Bond, and it really does have this sadness to it that I really do like for the film itself. And also bonus points for the end of the film, where there's another rendition of Nobody Does It Better that I'm not going to spoil how it's sung, but it's hilarious. It's appropriate for the ending. So that's Nobody Does It Better, sung by Carly Simon. At number 3 is We Have All the Time in the World, sung by Louis Armstrong for the film On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Now, this song is unique in that it comes, I believe, in about an hour into the film, if not sooner than that, and it's a love montage. It's James Bond falling in love, and it is... Now, after the other previous Bond films, is that the only thing that we had closest to that was the aforementioned From Russia with Love scene at the end. But in this, like, Bond is actually falling in love with a woman. Yes, it does happen, and it is a beautiful sequence, and it works from just because of Louis Armstrong's voice. And that is what I love about Louis Armstrong, is just that it's, by the stretch of imagination, he does not have a perfect singing voice at all. It's very, it's like, it sounds like he does have a frog in his throat, and it's very rough, but that's what the charm of it is, that it feels like that any average Joe could start singing, and that it comes from their heart. And that's how it feels as well, that it feels like that Bond is singing it to his loved one. And the theme plays throughout the film as well, not the song itself, but just the music, and it is used perfectly as well, especially towards the end of the film, that very heartbreaking ending. That's, if anything, also gives the song its power, just because once you see the film and then you see it again and you hear that song and you realize what's going to happen, it really does add emotional weight to it. And Armstrong, I think this was one of his last hits, if not his last hit. And here's something that's misinterpreted, and that is, there's a moment where you hear a trumpet playing, and most people assume that was Louis Armstrong. Unfortunately, that wasn't Armstrong. By that point, he was very sick, and the only thing he could do was sing. He couldn't perform. Getting away from the romantic ballads, at number 2 is Live and Let Die, performed by Paul McCartney and Wings. Now, at first, when the song begins to play, it sounds like it's going to be a romantic ballad like You Only Live Twice or We Have All the Time in the World. But, and also, to me, it sounds like the Beatles, Here, There, Everywhere. But then, just boom! And then you're in this, in my opinion, a roller coaster of a song that just goes everywhere, and it's just, and strings and percussion and trumpets. It's just this great rollicking piece of music, and it just works. And once again, Paul McCartney singing the hell of it. And to be honest, I don't initially see Paul McCartney as being a singer that would be appropriate for Bond, but this song is just perfect for the film itself, and also because this is the first film featuring Roger Moore as James Bond. And I think that the song itself signifies that things are going to be different, not only with the Bond itself, but also the setting. And that is, we've got Louisiana as being one of the settings, and also dealing with voodoo. I think that the film itself is a really fun movie, even though there are some moments when you go, but still. This song, though, is just, there's also a great cover of it done by Guns N' Roses. It's a great rock song. Not just like a Bond song, but just a great rock song. I've been mentioning this song throughout the list. If you were paying attention, you knew it was coming. At number 1, Goldfinger, sung by Shirley Bassey. Now, I mentioned in Live and Let Die that it was a slow build-up and then boom. Right off the bat with this song, it's just boom, and then the trumpets kick in, and then boom again, trumpets, and then it slows down. You're thinking, okay, it's going to be cool, it's going to be like back to Matt Monroe from Russia with Love, but then no, you hear Shirley Bassey belting out, Goldfinger, and you're like, whoa. And then in her singing, she makes you believe that Goldfinger is the man with the Midas touch, a spider's touch, that... If anything, that is so effective for the song itself, because she's singing about the villain, and she makes you believe that this guy is going to be an intimidating threat to Bond, that Bond might not make it. And if you take a look at the actor Gert Frobe, you just see him go, well, he's just a fat guy. Pasty fat guy. What's a big threat about him? But no. She makes you believe that he is a force to be reckoned with. That it is an excellent song that, in my opinion, all the other Bond songs are just pretty much going to be judged to this one. That whatever happens with the other songs, that it will be seen as, well, is it reminiscent of Goldfinger? Too much like Goldfinger? Oh, it's just not as good as Goldfinger. Because it really is that good of a song. It had that much impact on the series, because you hear that in Tom Jones, you hear that in Chris Cornell, that influence. Everyone wants to do this. They want to be Shirley Bassey. They want to belt it out like her. And that's why I think Goldfinger is the best of the Bond songs. So this concludes my top 10 James Bond songs list. Now, just because I didn't include your favorite James Bond song doesn't mean that I hate it. On the contrary, I actually like quite a few of them, and in particular, I was saddened to not have For Your Eyes Only or A View to a Kill on the list. It just turns out I preferred the other 10 just a little bit more. Now, I provided links to you to listen to these songs throughout the video, and if you want to purchase these, you can definitely do so through iTunes. So, this is David of The Savage Experience, signing out.